Hey y'all, it's your girl Jada J. Yes, I know this review is extremely late, and most of y'all won't see this because the episode is coming on about 15 minutes from now. Alright, so, but I didn't want to not do the review. I've been swamped, y'all. I ain't gonna bore you with the details. Let's just wait a minute. Let me check something. Come on. Alright, we're good to go, y'all. Alright, so again, I apologize for his lateness. What is this, 3 weeks in a row? Maybe I shouldn't have, incriminated myself like that. Moving on. Alright, so this is episode 7, the brown paper bag. And yes, episode 8 is coming on tonight, 15 minutes. So most of you guys won't see this, but I just wanted to put it out there. Okay. So we open up with Quan and Joey kissing. Remember, they're at Natalie's apartment. Last week they got into a little thing because he was thinking, oh, you trying to say like this ain't nice enough, like I'm too cheap. You know what I'm saying? She was like, nah, I just like nice things. Yada, yada, yada. So they kissing, whatever. He hears somebody trying to turn the key, so he think it's Natalie. So he started freaking out. He's like, okay, get up, get up. That's my mama. That's my mama. He's like, go out the back, go out the back. And it was locked. She was like, it's locked, it's locked. He's like, go in the room, go in the room. She was like, what? He was like, go in the room. Ran in there. Then he starts trying to like twist the door. So it's Lucien. And Lucien is like, what the heck is wrong with this door? And he's like, we're twisting at the same time, so it's not working. He's like, open this door. So he comes in. And he's like, what's your problem? So he's kind of just looking at now, Joey. So then Lucien kind of just blows past him and starts looking. You guys know he's looking for the tape. Natalie says she put it in the bread holder. Goes over there. He's looking. There's nothing in there. So I'm pissed off. Sorry. I'm mad with Lucien because I was like, really? It's not in there? I'm over it. So he's looking. He's like, have you seen a tape with in a brown paper bag? Like, come on. He's like, a disc. He's like, a disc? And he was getting on my nerve because he tried to be like, us kids today, we don't do 8 tracks and CDs. It's something called a download. I was like, nah, Joey, because I'm 16 and I know what a disc looks like. So come on, really? Anyway, so Lucien was getting annoyed. He was like, okay, Joey, like you haven't seen it. He's like, can you help me look? Meanwhile, Joey trying to guard the door because we know Fauna's in the bedroom. So then Lucien is kind of just like, forget you. He calls Natalie. He's like, yo, it's not in here. You said it's where? She's like, calm down, because he's hyped up. She's like, it's in the bread holder. Checking. He's like, I already checked in there. It's not in there. It's not in there. Okay, it's not in there. All right, so I think they hang up, and then he calls her back. Let me see. No. Okay. She's like, well, I know nobody moved it. So she's like, I'm going to borrow Esperanza's car and I'm going to come over there. So meanwhile, in between time, they're exchanging looks, Lucien and Joey. So, again, Joey was really getting on my nerve in this scene. And then even, but I appreciated how when Natalie came to him and was like, you never listen, that's your problem. He was kind of looking like he wanted to say something, but just kept his mouth shut. This time, he kept his mouth shut. Alright? So she gets to the house. She's looking in the stove and the covers. He was like, I already checked it. I've checked everywhere. I've already checked. I've checked anywhere you could possibly look. I've checked. So she's like, okay, let me check the bedroom. Joey's like, nah, Mom, I already checked it. She's like, move. Let me go in there. He's like, Mom, I already checked. She's like, move, Joey. You didn't check well enough. So she goes in there. She's looking through everything. And so he's just like, she's like, that's why I be telling these kids not to be touching stuff. That's why I be telling them. And then so she goes, one of the kids got it. And I'm jumping ahead. Okay. Then Joey is like, I've already looked in all the drawers, everything. She's like, well, you didn't look well enough. She tells Joey to leave the room and go in the kitchen with Lucien and help him look. Okay, so when Natalie's looking everywhere, she sees a foot. So she calls Lucien in. She's like, Lucien, come here. And he's like, what is it? And then she's just like, come here. So he comes in. She's like, look. And then he pulls out a gun. He's like, hey, who's in there? And then so Joey went, he's like, no, don't shoot. Because Lucien got the gun out. And then she comes out from under the cover. She's like, don't shoot. So then she's like, what the? So Natalie was like, what the heck? She's like, oh, the beat. We're talking to Joey now. And she's like, little girl, get on now. She's like, I'm sorry. She's like, get out of here. Just really going in on Quan, which I am really mad at her. So she tries to start going in on Joey. Lucien is like, look, we don't have time for this. Just, where's the disc? Where's the CD? Where's the CD? All right. So Joey and her leave the room. Okay. So she was like, it was in a brown paper bag. He's like, are you sure it's a disc? She's like, yeah, he told me it was a disc. He told me to give it to you. And he's kind of mad. He's like, how could you forget to give this to me? And she's like, oh, well, first of all, my boyfriend has hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank. I don't know where it came from. I got a son who can't keep in his pants. I might potentially lose my job. And da-da-da-da. She's like, shall I go on? And he's like, all right, I get it. I'm sorry and everything. She's like, me too. I'm sure one of the kids have it. I'm gonna ask the kids what she said tomorrow. And he's like, no. I need you to go back over there tonight. She's like, is it really that important? He's like, heck yeah. You know what I'm saying? She's like, all right, I'm going to go over there. I'm going to ask the kids. You know what I'm saying? That's what happened. He's like, all right, thanks. He leaves. Okay, so then we switch to Julius. All right. Now, we know Julius is crazy. Okay. We know this now. All right. So we switch to Julius. And he just pulls up. He's pulling up to Randall's house. So they go up. Randall is leaning up. No. He knocks on the door. Randall comes out. And then they're leaning on the pillars. All right. Hold on, y'all. This just got all up in my grill. What is this? Okay. So then he's like, so Randall's like, oh, hey, Julius, like, how's your dad and everything? He's like, oh, he's fine. Then he said something and Randall asked him again. He's like, no. Then Julius, when he asked him, how's your dad? He's like, fine. And then Julius goes, did the lawyers help you with your situation? He's like, oh, yeah, but there's still work that needs to be done. He's like, okay. So he's like, and then ask him again. He's like, okay, so how's your dad? And he's like, he's still hanging in there. He says, well, tell him I said hi. Then Julius says, well, I have a question for you. And then he says, I figured out. No. Randall says, I figured you did. I figured you didn't just come over here to breathe my air. He's like, right, I didn't. So he's like, when my uncle had a trial, I want to get this right, y'all, because I wrote it down. He said, when my uncle had a trial, there was a woman in the back, a black woman. You said hi to her when you got up from testifying. Her name is Tilda. Randall says, you should talk to your father. He goes, who was she? Who was she? He's like, I can't say anything. He's like, I'm under oath, Julius. Like, you need to go talk to your father. So he's like, come on, man. Like, could you, come on, He's like, he did. The two of them he said the two of them been having an affair for the last 20 years. And apparently I have a sister. Is this true? So Randall again says, look, you need to talk to your father. We're sworn to oath. And Julius is like, okay, listen, Randall, you're the only one who knows everything about me and my family, then actually even more than we know. You've done, trials with us. You've taken statements from all of us. So if you know anything about if anybody's going to know anything about our family, it's you. So I need you to tell me, like, what's going on. So he's like, Julius, look, I just want to know. Julius says, look, I just want to know if he's telling the truth. Do I have a sister? So he's like, yeah, you do. So he's like, who is she? He's like, I don't know. I never met her. So he's like, well, who does? And he's like, her mother. Like, trying to get a little smart. You know what I'm saying? Didn't appreciate that on Randall's part. All right. All right. So then he leaves. Randall, they just do the little, okay, have a nice life type thing. Peace. Okay, so then we switch back to Natalie's. She says, I told you. He says, we weren't doing nothing, she says. Okay, so Joey is now in there. He comes back. And she's like, I told you, like, what's your problem? He's like, we wasn't even doing nothing. We was just in here. And so he's like, we were just watching a movie. She's like, why can't you take it to the movies? He's like, mama, I ain't even got no money. Like, she's like, oh, right, you don't, because you can't keep a job, because you can't keep your mouth shut, and you don't listen, Joey. You don't listen. Okay, you don't listen. That's what you do. All right, so then, no, wait a minute. I jumped ahead. Okay. This is actually when Joey and Quan were outside. Okay, so I already gave you guys that part, so I'm not going to go back. That was a conversation that they had after he came back in from talking to Quan. Okay, so now Quan and Joey are outside. And, she's like, see, I told you she was going to come on in. And he's like, but we wasn't even doing nothing. She's like, okay, well, she already hates me. He's like, yeah, she does. And Quan is like, really, Joey? Like, you're not supposed to agree with me? And he's like, I'm sorry, but she does. So they laughing and everything, and she's like, I gotta go. He's like, can I come with you? She like, nah, dude. Like, what you talking about? He's like, you gonna leave me with her? And she's like, better you than me. And he says, some kind of friend you are. So this was really like the definition of the relationship, the defining of it. Because then Fawn goes, what did you say? And then he tried to kind of flip it on her, because then he was like, better you than me? Like, trying to make it, like, just be quiet, Joey. She was like, friend. She's like, is that all we are? Like, that's what we're doing? Oh, really? You know what I'm saying? And he's like, yeah, you know, I mean, we friends and everything like this. So she's like, he was like, she goes, I thought we were dating. He's like, we are. She's like, exclusively. He's like, oh, for real? Like, that's what you thought? Joey was getting on my nerve. I was over it. Okay. So then she's like, I gotta go. Like, kind of like, I don't got time for this. And he tries to be like, come here. Why don't you just come here? Let me talk to you for a minute. She's like, nah, I gotta go. Gets in the car, drives off. Now, when Joey is walking back, oh, who does he run into? Quan. All right. So then Quan is like, oh, that's the wifey though. That's the wifey. So he's like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? That's just what it is. And he's like, oh, okay, I'm glad to see prison ain't turn you out. And Quan is getting on my nerve, y'all. He's always got on my nerve, but he was like in the background. Like, I didn't mind you, Quan. Okay, now Dewan Owens, he's cool. I could rock with Dewan. That's the actor, y'all. But that character, I can't. And then and then last week, everybody? He kind of like went sissy on us because, okay, when Tank came up to him talking about, well, I could just go get Eddie right now and let him know so, I would have denied it to the life. Well, not me. Quan, I would have been like, okay, and I could easily get Julius down here, so don't try and play games. You know what I'm saying? But Quan, like, gave in, like, all right, man, go ahead and take the spot. I would have been like, I don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean there was a drive-by shooting? I didn't even hear it. You know what I'm saying? You just deny. Because you ain't nobody. The Tank ain't nobody. What you trying to do? Again, the actor's cool, but I don't care for that character. All right. And you're playing slave to the white. All right. Anyway, moving on. Okay. So then he was like, I'm glad they ain't got you switching up on your team. So then he says, you know, we got a problem, right? Joey's like, nah, man, I ain't got no problem with you. He was like, see, there's where the problem comes from. He's like, because if I got a problem with you, that means we got a problem. So Joey's like, okay, basically, so what you gonna do about it? You know what I'm saying? What you gonna do? You know, no, because then he's like, oh, do we? He was like, yep, because you told Lucien I had the drive-by done, didn't you? He was like, now why would I do that? Here go Quan. He was like, I don't know, but you did, so I know. He was like, I know one thing, you better get out of here. That's what Joey says to Quan. He says, look, you should really leave me alone. Quan says, I would like to, but I'm getting all this pressure about letting you live, and it's a little heavy on my heart. That got on my nerve too. Don't be trying to come with the sarcastic stuff, Quan, because you're not even on that level with us no more. You know what I'm saying? Nobody was ever scared of you, but then this was like, really? Then he gonna try and kind of taunt Joey because he was like, you know, when you're dead, I'm gonna be with your girl, right? And doing all the gestures and everything like this. I was like, really? That's what you do? Like, this was your homeboy. And you got mad at him for coming for you when you stole the 3,800 from his mama's job? This is what he gets? I'm over you. There's nothing that's ever gonna make me believe Quan ain't take that money. Just because every time Joey asked him about it, he had a little smirk on his face. He was smug. Oh, man, really? Oh, that sucks, dude. I mean, who do you think did it? Like, you trying to be slick. Like, I already know it was you. You not even sympathetic. Like, this is my mama's job. You coming down here taking money. Then you get mad at me because I knocked you out and took the money back. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on now. I can't. You know, just taunting him. He was like, hey, you know, just shouting stuff out. Like, I'm coming for... I didn't appreciate it. Then I already gave you guys, you know, Natalie and him had the talk. You don't listen. That's why you're not getting anywhere. And then she was like, so just help me find this disc boy. And then he helped her. So then we switched to Julius in the hospital checking on his dad. Now, we meet a man named Sammy. And I guess this is the family lawyer. So he sees Sammy and he's like, hey, what's up? You know, what are you doing here? He's like, oh, your father wanted me to come down so we could talk about some things. He's like, talk about what? And he's like, Julius, I really don't want to say nothing. Like, maybe you should wait till your dad wakes up. No, and he asked him, he's like, oh, is my dad all right? Because he came in there and his dad was kind of asleep. He's like, oh, don't worry. They just got him like on some medication. So he's just out right now. And then he asked Sammy, he's like, what are you doing here? He didn't say it pleasantly either, y'all, because he already knew. He's like, oh, you should talk to your dad when he wakes up. He's like, no. what are you doing here? And then he's like, all right, let's go talk outside. He's like, look, your father called me down here to discuss some things about the will. So Julius is like, what about the will? So he's telling him, he's like, look, I can't say too much. He's like, Sammy, come on, like, what about the will? He's like, well, he's planning on leaving everything to her and the daughter. He's like, really? He gonna do this to me? He's like, that son of a bee, like, kind of really going in on his dad, like, wow, how he gonna do this to me? Really, like, this is what I get. And Sammy's like, I know, man, I'm sorry and everything. I can't believe it either. Just all the fakery, because he don't really care. But that, maybe that's a family lawyer, so, you know, and that's just what happens. Okay, so then Tilda comes out. Yeah, Tilda comes off the elevator and she sees Sammy. She's like, "Oh my God! Like, is he okay? El Jefe, I'm calling him El Jefe. Is he okay? You know, is he good and everything like that?" He's like, "Yeah, you know, he's fine." Julius is like, "What are you doing here?" So she's like, "Boy, please." Anyway, is he? So he's like, "No, no, no. What are you doing here?" So she's like, "Boy, I would get out my face if I were you." Kind of threatening him again. So she's like, so he goes, what you gonna do? She was like, you don't want to find out. He's like, oh, what you gonna do? You know, kind of getting in her face a little bit. She was like, if I were you, I would be a little nicer to your father. And then, so he says, listen, if I were you, I'd be pretty much nicer to me because you need to respect me. Okay, you need to respect me. So she's like, so he goes, he's dying. So she's like, are you trying to kill him? Or what are you trying to do? So then that's when Julius makes a hissing noise at her. Literally, he's like, and I can't even do it. It was weird. And then he got on the elevator and was out. Okay, I don't know. Julius has lost it. Okay. Then we switch to Alex's house. Kelly and Esperanza come in the room. Just small talk. Oh, I thought you guys were asleep. They're like, no, girl, you ain't hear us down there talking, you know, getting crazy, whatever. All right. So then they looking at the baby and they're like, he's already got his own personality because the baby was literally, it was a beautiful baby, y'all. It's a beautiful baby. And he's got a little smile on his face when he's asleep. And she's like, oh, he's already got his personality. They're laughing. They're like, and then she's like, what's funny? And then Kelly's like, well, it's just that when Justice was a baby, I was proud of everything he did. Esperanza's like, I was the same way with Mika. You know, just, you know, the small talk. So then she's like, yeah, they're smart. You know, babies are smart, this, that. And then there was this little thing where, let me see. Oh yeah, they're really growing up. And then Alex is like, yeah, that's what I'm afraid of. And then they're like, why? And then she goes, because you know kids are ready to start asking questions way before you're ready to start answering them. And Esperanza's like, yeah, girl, Mika came up to me the other day and asked me, Mommy, where do babies come from? And they're like, what did you say? And she was like, when you from not reading books that you should be reading. And they all start laughing and then they go, what did she say? And she was like, nothing, girl. I started laughing, so she just walked away from me. I said, I can't. All right. So then Alex says, okay, no. So then they're kind of, Esperanza and Kelly kind of get into like what it is to kind of be a single mom. And then they're kind of like, it's difficult. And Kelly's like, yeah, especially having a boy. Esperanza's like, oh, thank God. Like, I'm glad I don't have a boy because I don't know like what I would do. You know, trying to raise a boy on my own. And Kelly's like, look, it's difficult enough being a single mom. And then Alex is like, I guess I'll find out. And they're like, girl, you gonna be all right. You gonna be good, you know. And I was like, forget you because you had a good man, Alex. And so then they get on Kelly. And she's like, I just hope when Justice starts asking those questions, I got a man around to, you know, help me. And then Esperanza's joking with her. She's like, oh, Ramsey? And then Kelly's just like, no, like, we're not even going there, you know. And Esperanza's like, why are you being so difficult? Like, you like him, so what are you waiting on? You know, he's about to leave. And then Kelly's kind of like, I don't know if he likes me. And they're like, girl, he like you. So, come on. I didn't appreciate this because I would actually, whether he's moving or not, I would definitely say to take it slow. Okay, we know Ramsey, that's my husband, so I don't really appreciate this. Okay, I told Tyler, I don't want Trayvante doing that. Okay, that's Ramsey's real name. I don't want him doing that. Okay, but Tyler put in most of the profit for this season, so I said, okay, I'll level with him, and I'll have Trayvante. Okay, moving on. Okay, so then they're just talking about, yeah, the difficulty of it, and basically they just go into talking about her and Randall. And Alex says, you know, I'm gonna do anything. So she's like, one thing I do know, even if I don't know how to raise children on my own, I know that I would do anything to protect my son. I'm that kind of mother. So if Randall wants to feel my wrath, okay, he can keep messing with me. So then Kelly's like, wait a minute, honey, have you actually thought about what if you did let him see the baby? You know, have you thought about that? And so Alex is like, no, I'm not letting him see the baby. That's not gonna happen. And Esperanza's kind of like, I don't know, Kelly. You did say he was going kind of crazy. And then Kelly's like, yeah, I know, but maybe it's because he really wants to see his son. And Alex is like, no, he's not gonna see him. And if he tries to force it, that's gonna be a problem. And then she goes, now I'm considering an option that I've never considered before. And they're like, honey, what are you talking about? You sound crazy. And she's just like, I don't want to talk about it, but I'm considering the option. Like she about to go kill him or something. You know, she's like, nobody gonna try and take my child from me, whether it's willingly or forcefully. It's not gonna happen. I'm not letting him see the baby, and that's that. So then Kelly's like, are you sure? And she's like, for the last time, if Randall wants to try and come mess with me, he will feel my wrath. You know, that's the long story short. And then they're talking about how guys are so hard to read. And then this was a little like, what for me, Tyler? Because then Esperanza, she's like, oh my gosh, I wish I couldn't read Eddie at all. Like, I know him all too well. Well, clearly not, Esperanza. Okay? Otherwise, you should be all in his business and be like, what are you doing? Okay? What are you doing? Okay? You have a daughter you need to be taking care of. And you out here doing this foolishness, and you're too old for that. You're too old. You're too old. Okay? Together or not, this you on some dumb stuff, I'm about to go ahead and let you know. Okay, you have a daughter you need to be raising. Okay, you're a decent father, I give you that, but you need to be stepping your game up. Because when you're out here in these streets, taking money and doing whatever you don't need to be doing, that's when the problem comes in, because you're not being there for her, and you're out there acting an idiot. Okay, you're a whole grown man, and you don't know what you doing this. This is what you do. You know what I'm saying? This is what you do. I already would have been all up in his face like, what you doing? What you doing? You know what I'm saying? I don't got the time for that. You know? And I admit you shouldn't have to babysit no grown man, but okay. Hold on, y'all. I got a little hyped up. Okay. So then we switch to Marcy and Brad. Now, we know last week they were talking about, okay, we're going to sit down, we're going to watch a movie, we're just going to chill. Okay, so this week it opens up and she's like, see, no romance, and she's turning off the movie and she turns to him and he's asleep. So she goes over, she's trying to tuck him in. When she's putting the blanket on him, he wakes up and like grabs her wrist and he's like, come here. Like, you know, wanting her to cuddle and all this. Didn't appreciate this, because I will say this. I wouldn't mind Marcy and Brad, like, if there was some kind of time jump, like, later in the future, because it just doesn't seem natural at this point, just because of everything, and just, I don't appreciate it. So I didn't really like the come here. You know, I didn't like that. I didn't like that. And they're not married, so that was another thing. But, alright. So anyway, so he's like, come here, and she's like, Brad, he's like, come here. So then they're hugged up, you know, on the couch, cuddled up, whatever. And she's like, we shouldn't be doing this. You know, this is not cool. And he's like, doing what? We're not doing nothing. You know, this is innocent. And she was like, where is this to you not doing anything? Like, you trying to say this is nothing? You know, because we shouldn't be doing this. And he's like, compared to what? You're like trying to say, compared to what they was doing, we ain't even doing nothing. You know? Excuse me, y'all. Okay, so then she's like, look, this isn't right. You need to let me go. So he moves his arm and he goes, you're still not moving. And she's like, I know, because I haven't been held in such a long time. Sorry. So they laying there. So then she finally gets up. And she's like, why are you doing this? He said, because I felt like I needed to. She says, I'm not Alex. He's like, I know. She's like, I know you wish I was her when you're holding me. You know, and he's like, Marcy, and she's like, nah, don't do that, because we don't lie to each other. We don't do that. You know, I know that you do. And he's like, and then she goes, you should go to her. He goes, I can't. She says, why? So it's pretty much the same thing like last week. She's like, you still love her. You should go to her. You know, me and Randall are done. He don't got no respect for me. But you and Alex still have an opportunity. She's still trying to get you back. She's trying to win you and all this. And he's like, And he goes, no, I'm too angry. I can't. She goes, no, you're too full of ego to go back to her. You know what I'm saying? And she goes, I already know you're wishing that it was her when you're with me, so just go to her, you know? And he's like, you know, why do you keep trying to push me back to her? Why do you keep doing that? And she's like, I'm not. I'm just telling you, like, there's still a chance for y'all. So she goes, there are 7 stages to this, and you're stuck in anger. And he's like, where are you? She goes, over it. He's like, me too. She goes, no, you're not. You know, she already knows. He's like, it's just this father situation, finding out that her father is worse than I thought. And she's like, what could be worse than, you know, being a racist bigot? And he's like, he was molesting both of his daughters. So, and she's like, you know, wow, kind of not feeling sorry for her, but almost like, dang it, I feel sorry for her. Like, that's how Marcy looked for me. He's like, I know it doesn't excuse what she did, but it casts a new light on things, you know. Sometimes I guess, you know, try and do something and she didn't like me to do that. She cringed at it, you know, that kind of thing. And, you know, she seen I was getting bored and uninterested, so she began to look elsewhere, I guess. And I didn't like this because, again, it was like he was trying to blame himself. Like, okay, Alex again is being victimized. I can't. Because it's just, and then even with this, oh my God, Randall was the master manipulator and she didn't have a choice and she was under his spell. And, you know, I'm over that, y'all. Because if you thinking about it, again, the camera, my hand is over here. Not over here on the opposite. This is the hand I'm actually using, but it's showing up over here. I don't know. All right. So, yeah. It's like, again, with the, you know, she didn't have a choice and she was so, she had to do this. There was nothing else she could have done. Oh, she couldn't have realized she was married and not had an affair. She couldn't have done that. Wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have worked. It simply wouldn't have worked. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I get everything he's trying to say. Okay, she's been through this in her life and da-da-da-da-da. She said I was getting bored and uninterested and it was just the same old. Okay, fine, but that's a conversation that you need to have. Don't expect me to assume that I know that you're getting bored and uninterested, you know, in the marriage. So you're leading astray? Like, this is what you do? You know what I'm saying? And again, it's like that lame, oh, I wasn't getting enough attention. We know, okay, she's a stay-at-home mom, Brad goes to work. Okay, well, that's a conversation that you needed to have. And anyway, we know when the show even came into conception, when the show started, apparently it was like a thing for, like, you know, a lot of years he would always be like, you know, I'm going to take off, you know, because I know I always work a lot during tax season and I'm sorry about that. And he's like, but this year is really going to be different. And he was really stepping up. Like, he would call her, you know, babe, you want me to get anything from the store? Do you need anything? He was just that dude. He was like, I'm taking off. And he noticed it too, because he was like, every year, you usually beg me to take off because I'm working so much and I don't see you and the kids that much, but this year you haven't. Like, what's different? You know, so he was noticing things and you couldn't have just talked to him. Like, you know, I don't really feel like you get that. Even anyway, that's whack, that attention situation. Like, do you really need that much, you know? But anyway, that was the problem. So you should have went to go speak to him about that. Don't go ahead and go astray. You know what I mean? I don't need it. All right. I'm over it. So then she gets up, something happens, and she's like, we can't do this. You know, you need to go to her, tell her how you feel. He says, yeah, that'll go well. And she says, if it doesn't, I'm still going to be here, you know. And, you know, you still got a room here. He's like, where you going to go? She was like, I'm going to still be here, but I'm not going to be in your way. Then she's like, I got to get to bed. He's like, okay, block the door, because if you come out, I'm not going to be responsible for my actions. That was over the top for me. I can't. I just can't. Okay. So then we switch back to the hospital. All right. So now Tina, the nurse we met last week, she's checking on Pete. Now that was just a brief little thing, because then we switched to Eddie. He's calling Ben. Ben is like, you know, she's still in here. Then he's like, okay, what are we going to do? Eddie says, listen, I got this. Hangs up. He sees Andrew at the desk. He's like, what are you doing here? He's like, picking up extra shifts, you know, trying to make extra. No, because then he's like, I work here, remember? And Eddie's like, oh, yeah, why? He's like, I'm trying to make extra money. picking up extra shift. He was like, you know, laughing and everything, fake Eddie. And he's like, this is not how you make extra money as an officer. So then he's like, okay, how do you make extra money as an officer? He's like, you know, I would love to tell you, but if you rat on me, I'd have you killed. You know what I'm saying? And he's like, man, I'm not going to do nothing. He's like, come on, man, I've been trying to make some extra money. It was too over the top. If I was Eddie, I wouldn't have trusted him either because he was too much with it. I was like, come on, Andrew, you got to slow your roll with it. I would just be like, oh, for real, what you trying to do, man? Because this little making money here is not really working. And just kind of tried to lure and when he was like, nah, dude, I don't really trust you, I'd be like, all right, I get it. He was like, come on, man, come on. Like, come on, Andrew, you making it obvious. So then he's like, you know, whatever it is you do, he's like, he's like, what is it that you do? Like, trying to be low key. He's like, well, when you really want to answer to that, come see me, you know? And he's like, why come see you later? I'm here right now. Let's talk. So then Eddie does like a sniff and he's like, He's like, I don't trust you. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, there's something about you I feel like I gotta watch. And he's like, really? And he's like, yeah. He's like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah, man, there's something about you I gotta watch. He's like, okay. So then he turns around. He was like, and if this is how you're making money, trying to make extra money, you definitely not ready for Team Eddie. And then starts laughing and walks away. I'm over it. Nobody wants to be Team Eddie. All right. So then he's going to the elevator, and this is just context because it really didn't matter. Eddie's going to the elevator, and he does like a laugh, like a snicker, and then gets on the freaking elevator. I was over that too. Okay. All right. I'm over it. Okay. So then Eddie gets on the elevator. Then Julius gets on the elevator. He says, hey, copper, so I guess you're still moving, he says. He was like, so that shooter wasn't so good, was it? He was like, or maybe I'm just solid. You know, maybe I'm just solid. He says, you ain't nothing. And then Eddie's like, you ain't nothing but another drug dealer to me. You know. And then Julius is like, oh, but you forget. I have a far reach. And he goes, no, but you forget. Your father has a far reach. You ain't nothing but a little errand boy. Okay, so don't get this all messed up. He's like, oh, well, guess what? Guess what happens when my father dies? Guess who's next up? And Eddie's like, well, let me guess, you? And he's like, oh, you know, kind of like, yeah, good. And he's like, well, I can't wait for that day to come and just, you know. So then he's like, He's like, maybe when I get up there, I'll hire another shooter. You know, so he was like, it was you that had me shot up. And he's like, no. If I had you shot, it wouldn't have been a bullet to the vest. It would have been 2 to the head. All right. So then he's like, you want to know what I'm doing here? Eddie's like, I really don't care. He's like, I'm here to see my dad. I'm going to tell you anyway, I'm here to see El Jefe. My dad, he ain't say that. I'll call him El Jefe. He's like, I'm going to see my dad. You know what I'm saying? So that's when he tried to let him know. Okay, he's trying to let him know, you know, my dad's dying. I'm mixed up. So, you know, get it together. So then he's like, you ain't nothing but a low-life drug dealer, you know. And then he's like, oh, well, Esperanza didn't think so. No, what did he say? He said something slick, y'all. I'm trying to find it. Oh, dang it. I think, yeah, it was something like, you ain't nothing but a lowlife. And then he was like, oh, well, Esperanza didn't think so. He was like, okay, neither did your mama about me. And he's like, oh, for real? Really? And so they kind of just did this little thing. And he was like, remember, I'm coming up. You know what I'm saying? So he's like, you better watch your back. And then he tells him, he's like, so it was you who had me shot. He was like, no, you need to look a little lower. It was, he was like, a drug dealer. You took some money. No, he goes, Quan. He's like, who was Quan? He's like, you know who Quan is? He's like, no, I don't. Who the heck is Quan? He's like, the drug dealer you stole some money from. Oh, yeah, remember him? It was him. It was Quan. Okay, so if I was you, I'd be going out to look for him. He was like, oh, I'm going to find him, all right. I'm going to find him. He's like, oh, good luck with that, and gets off the elevator. So then he's like, you know, I'll see you, Eddie. I'll see you. Good to see you. And Eddie's like, I'll see you. And then he's got a poker face, but when Julius gets off, he's like, really? Like, mad. I wonder what's going to go on because they didn't really tease anything with the Quan situation this week, so we'll see. I don't know, y'all. I don't know. Okay. So then, was this the last scene, y'all? I can't. I don't know, y'all. Hold up. Oh, he says to Eddie, he's like, why don't you go ahead and ask your partner, Lucien? Like, Lucien know who he is. Like, that kind of thing. Didn't appreciate that. Okay. So then we switch to Julius, and he's coming to see his dad again. He's got, like, a candle. But that was really just something to show so he can get in the room. And they have, like, some guard. This is, again, like a family friend named Vino. Now, Vino is guarding the door. And then Vino's like, man, you really love him because you've been here like a few times today. He's like, yeah, I got him like a special little candle, you know. And then he's like, hey, is that woman here? And he's like, nah, she's gone. You know, what do you know about her? He asked Vino. He's like, come on, Julius. You know I can't say nothing. You know I can't say anything. Come on. He's like, now don't ask me again, please. He was like, you know I'm next in line, right? He's like, yeah, but the old man is tough. He's like, yeah, he is. You know, can I go in? Vino moves out the way. He comes in, goes around, puts the candle on the table, looks at his father, picks up a pillow, and starts smothering him, y'all. And that's how the episode ended. I'm over it. Now, I will say this. I don't think Julius is going to be able to go through with it. But I don't know, because I really don't know. Okay, because Julius definitely wants to be next in line. Now he's extremely upset. Okay, my father trying to take me out the will? Really? Trying to leave me with nothing? And you cheated on my mama for 30 years? Oh, no, no. Oh, no. We don't roll like that, y'all. We don't. So now we have to see, is this still going to be a rivalry with Eddie and Julius? Is there going to be more to come with those two? Randall, is he still going to be a part of the Julius storyline? So we're going to see, everybody. I mean, this is interesting. This is warming up. Is Lucien undercover? We're still that's still unknown. Because I would have said, oh yeah, for sure, a few weeks ago. But Tyler, I don't know with Tyler. All right, y'all. Okay, but I'm going to leave it here, considering the show started about 23 minutes ago. All right. It's your girl, J to J. Peace.